is Ajibike Salako Akande. I'm an MD. I'm a board-certified professional counselor and a certified recovery advocate. I also have a short-term postdoctoral fellowship in complementary and alternative medicine with focus on substance abuse. I'm the CEO of Getwell Nutraceuticals, an incubator life sciences company at BW Tech at UMBC. For the last 22 years, I have provided counseling services, research, psychosocial support, and case management to aid drug addicts and the mentally ill, which also include ex and sex offenders. I ran an outpatient clinic in Baltimore City and Prince George's County for many years and developed a psychosocial support program for children that was adopted by DHMH and disseminated statewide. I also incorporated a complementary and alternative management method to these individuals' treatment. The remainder of this time, I spent doing both animal and human research studies for evaluation of the alternative methods on how they can reduce alcohol and drug-seeking behavior. Scientific literature shows that persistent craving during the recovery process is a major problem and often leads to relapse. According to a 2012 National Institute of Drug Abuse report, 40 to 60% of those treated for alcohol or drug abuse will relapse. And a 2011 United Nations Office of Drug and Crime Study reported that ex-offenders that have drug abuse challenges have a 70% relapse rate. In fact, persistent craving, which is drug desire and its seeking behavior, drives relapse, and this is a recalcitrant problem for substance use disorder individuals, and it may lead to overdose deaths. According to the literature, 4 reasons have been attributed to cause this problem, and I will go through this slide. As you see, we have products that can take care of this drug desire and relapse. We focus on how do we take care of craving, because when patients come to the clinic, we can see that they're really genuine to stop. They want to stop, but because of the problems of this craving, they are not even able to stay in treatment. Even though they're interested in recovery, they will not be able to stay to recover. And their retention time is so reduced. And then the rate that they go and come back to treatment is very high. The next slide shows graphically the 4 reasons that we found to cause this persistent craving. And if we do not deal with them, we may not get to where we need to be. The first one is the previous reward experience. When anyone enjoys something, we want to repeat it. This is why when they are in jail, it's easy for them to stop use. But as soon as they come out and they see the communities they've used before, they see the paraphernalias, this reward experience came back, and then the relapse. The second reason are the drug metabolites. Literature also shows that there are several metabolites that may have the same activities with the original drug, and I'm going to go into that in details at the next slide. The third reason is that some of the medications we use to do detox, to treat these patients, can become addictive if we use them for too long. Example, Valium, barbiturate, even some of the medication-assisted treatments, we all know how, if used for too long, can become addictive. The fourth reason is deficiency in brain chemicals. As the addict uses this drug for long, on and off, it becomes depleted. And because the brain has changed, it's telling that person to use drug, not to eat. So the person cannot even replenish the nutrients that the person needs to make these chemicals back. This slide is showing the brain reward system. When someone uses the area of the brain that it affects and the other part of the frontal lobe that keeps this memory. And this slide is showing how addiction is formed. It's 3 levels in the brain. The reward, with the second one, compulsion, and then it becomes habit formation. So addiction becomes cyclical. I would like to discuss more about the metabolites also. As you see, cocaine, when it breaks down into major and minor active metabolites. The non-cocaine is the minor active metabolite, and it's like a sun having the same characteristics with cocaine. Then we have benzoagonine and the ergonine as the major metabolites that can also create drug-seeking behavior. The references are under if anyone wants to confirm. Addicts learn when they use drugs, whichever one gives them more high, they prefer to do that. So you see the benzo picking ethylene from the alcohol to form cocaethylene, which is 10 times more potent than cocaine. And all these are in the body. The person thinks, oh, I use cocaine, it's gone. It's not gone. It's broken down into new more drugs, which is causing the desire and seeking behavior in that person. Next slide, please. So we also see the metabolites for heroin. Major metabolites for heroin, there are 3. In fact, you won't even get high on heroin if it doesn't break down into morphine, which is the metabolite. And there are 2 others on the side. The pain-relieving prescription pain medicines also, because they're in the same class, if used for too long or if abused, they can go and form morphine, and that person will start getting high from it. Next slide. So addiction becomes cyclical from drug abuse to getting high, euphoria. They repeat, and as they repeat it, they develop tolerance. They have to use more before they can get the initial high. So they tell you they're, running after the initial high. I've forgotten the name they call it in the community. Then as they use and these products break down, they crave. When they crave, they relapse and pick the drug back again. Next slide. So we are saying that our product is all natural, it's nutritional supplements. We develop them by understanding the biochemistry of addiction. If we see all those neurotransmitters in the brain, there are precursors that can form them. Example, dopamine, which is the major neurotransmitter that all of the drugs affect. So what the product first do is to relieve their immediate pain, to relieve their immediate anxiety and all the other problems. And then you see they are calm, they calm down. It's a bit similar to acupuncture, So it's just that the mechanisms are different, but we get the same results. So they calm down, the anxiety goes down, they're able to sleep, then they now are able to stay to get the other treatments, modalities, because they still need to learn. Even when they crave, they need to learn how not to pick again. And all that is hugely done in counseling, and motivational counseling and all that can help. So the next slide. We have been doing studies on this product. There are 4. We have one for cocaine, one for heroin, one for alcohol. I have them here if anyone wants to see. And that acronym, SMASH, Smash Your Addiction, means Substance Abuse Management for Addiction to Alcohol, Stimulants, and Heroin. So we now give each SMASH C, smash your cocaine, smash your heroin, smash your alcohol. So we did a 7-year study in Jamaica, University of West Indies, when a scientist encouraged me to go to the FDA. So I showed them a prototype of the product, and they encouraged that we need to try and do studies so that our conventional colleagues will be able to accept it. So, and also when I presented in Jamaica, they asked me for the mechanism of action. I was trying to say it, but the professor says, no, until you do an animal study, you won't be able to know what the mechanisms are. So that's how it took us 7 years to come up with the mechanism of action, which is, first of all, replenishing the brain, replenishing electrolytes that they've lost, clearing all those free radicals that are developed in the cells and organs, and they call that metabolic syndrome. These are what leads to diabetes and hypertension that are more common in addicts than others. So we now came back to the US to partner with UVA. This slide is on the metabolite, as you can see. The animals that were dependent on cocaine, we have 5 groups of them. The first 2, they are normal groups, and the last, they are the dependent groups. So the first one were not treated. The second dependent were not treated, but they were just given rat food. The third one were treated. Even after 12 weeks of treatment, the cocaine-dependent rats that were not treated still have the metabolites after 12 weeks. Imagine the human, and rats have similar characteristics with human. In human, if they use, every 3 days they must use. So you can imagine the metabolites will cascade. And because they form so many others, they proliferate. So we say they cascade and they are proliferative. So you can see the nutrient helps to remove the metabolites from the body. And we can go into that detail later on if anybody has questions. So the benefit is that
Dr. Gibbs,
is that they are natural, they can be used with conventional treatments, and they can reduce hospital stay. The treatment can be done in outpatient basis. We have been able to open a wellness center, a small wellness center, because the product and the services, we want to marry both together. Their insurance doesn't cover them, but we have been able to open a 24/7, 24 hours wellness center. So that instead of people going to the street to pick drug, they can come to the center and get support. It will be only those that need emergency that we may now send to the emergency room. So at the last conclusion, we are ready to partner with current treatment providers to add these alternative treatments into their own protocol. However, this must be a sustained and monitored program to ensure success. At a minimum, patients would use the novel recovery treatment protocol for 2 to 6 months, depending upon the severity of addiction. And the treatment method, as we've said, not covered by insurance, but we ensured that if the committee can join us in advocating for a funded pilot program, it will show the benefit to patients and society as a whole. And should the committee wish to explore the funding of such a pilot program, we believe it could reduce the overall cost of medication and hospital stays. Thank you very much.
Address, if anybody on the back, on the Rolling Road?
Yes, ma'am.
If anybody would like to contact you or come and visit you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Sounds very interesting.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So I was just here for moral support.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what I
wanted to-
thought. You
So in simple terms, your body and brain chemistry gets altered when you have a drug addiction. And what she has done and is doing heroin opioid studies right now with UVA to get additional research. She is trying to get medical food status. This is an alternative kind of way of treating. And the methodology is to prevent relapse because we see that people are craving drugs and therefore relapsing. So in part, this is an effort to actually break that cycle and to get the metabolites and to restore the brain and body chemistry back to what it was pre-addiction so that the recall is no longer in the body. And the scientific data that she has is pretty phenomenal. So it is peer-reviewed research. And so we just thought it was important for this committee to know a little bit more about it. And she is a UMBC incubator company. So
that's great to hear because I think we've all, everyone on this panel or on this panel has said we have to start thinking outside the box and what are we going to do to combat this problem. So thank you very much.
Thank you.